Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today we are going to get into our live conversation with members, but we are also going to start the night off with a question from one of my personal favorite commenters who's always supporting the channel and always dropping amazing food for thought, and it's Yuki. Is it right there? Yeah, Yuki dropped a great question. Yuki says, in your opinion, what Chaos Legion cards are the best investment for card appreciation later and when packs are sold out? Can you pick a top 5? I thought cheaper but good common and rare would appreciate more than really good epic or legendary cards. What do you think? Also, do you think that gold foils will appreciate more than regular foils? Another thing I noticed was that cards are powerful in bronze and silver. Those are the ones that appreciate more. I do agree. Yes, do you agree? I definitely agree. I know it's not financial advice, just curious to hear your opinion. I'm pretty satisfied with my Chaos Legion collection for now. That's why I'm just thinking about grabbing extra cheap cards that are good for future appreciation so that I can buy more cards and packs later. This is a great idea. I strongly advocate that you guys are approaching the game in this way. 1, enjoying it. 2, trying to build a deck that you can allow you to play and succeed and extract value for your time and attention. But then 3, adding to that basis, that's the basic pack, having a deck that you can play with, that you can enjoy the game with. That's the basics, but then you want to add assets that are going to be really inexpensive that might have an opportunity to appreciate wildly in a few years. That's a great idea and an amazing way to grow what you're doing here. And actually, on a related note, this is one of the beauties of grinding. When you do your daily grinds and your season grinds, you're often getting cards that are worth next to nothing. 2, 3, 4 cents. Common and rares worth very, very little at this point. And the hope is that they will appreciate wildly. And that's so I believe this is plausible. I believe that there are certain cards which are 2 or 3 cents now, which might be $10 in the future. I think there are certain legendary cards that are probably $3 or $4 right now, and they will be $100 or $200 in the future. It's going to depend on a lot of variables that we can't nail down. It's going to depend on how the meta evolves. It's going to depend on what the legendary summoners from the Chaos Legion are like. Do they offer buffs that really, really end up helping certain monsters and not others? You know, if you went and looked at your Chaos Legion legendaries right now and you saw that Ifrit Rising is the cheapest right now, what if there was a fire summoner that did plus magic? This card would suddenly no longer be the cheapest legendary. What if there was a dragon summoner that did plus archery, or that changed how recharge worked so that recharge was no longer a delay? How quickly would that transform what you were able to charge for these cards? Absolutely overnight. And so that sort of thing can happen. Hey Days, good to see you, buddy. I'm answering a question from Yuki right now, and I'm talking about what cards should you invest in that are really affordable and that have the big chance of huge gains in the future, not just because of playing with them, but because of the price appreciation. So I was saying there are certain cards right now that are really inexpensive. These two come to mind. These are the cheapest legendaries in the game out of the Chaos Legion set. And you know, if Fire suddenly had a magic summoner, or if Dragon had a new ability that made recharge fire on the first round, you could see these cards drastically transform in value. And so it's totally worth noting that cards that are cheap today might not be at all. They might be some of the most expensive later. And I can show you examples from my own history where I've seen when you look at older cards, if you look at legendaries, and if you look at where is it? I guess it's a reward. Yeah. The Sacred Unicorn, which is a reward card, which I was buying for an 80, 90 to $1, 80, 90 cents or $1 per BCX, $11 for a max copy of this thing. And it's now being sold for $59 per BCX, or $46 per BCX if you want to buy 5 of them at once. And so there are, and that was not uncommon, by the way. I wrote before I took the video, started the video, is noting that the prices, when I was looking at old beta cards, I went through and I was like, okay, looking at beta, and I can remember what I used to be paying for these roughly. I didn't write it down, so I can't tell you exactly. But I remember, for instance, paying, what's a card I remember? I remember paying about, I want to say 3 cents per golem, per flesh golem, up to maybe 30 cents per flesh golem. And now it's selling for $10 per BCX. And I knew even then it was an exceptional card. And so I think that that's true, that those opportunities exist now. Another example, Peacebringer, I think I was about 10 cents. I paid $40 for a max level Cerberus. A lot of the best legendary monsters like Lord of Darkness, I paid $40 for it. Max level, $40 for an Elemental Phoenix. I paid, I think, $25 for a max Magi of the Forest. As you can see, it's $45 per BCX now. I don't know that the Chaos Legion cards are going to appreciate the same way, but if they do something similar, and I think they could, when we grow, when the player base grows, when the cards are sold out, when the new Chaos reward cards are no longer in print, all of that I think will translate into significant price appreciation in the ways we've seen here. And so I think we can imagine some of these comments have gone from beta. They went from a penny all the way up to, $5-10 now. I think that's replicable. I think it's possible for some of these new Chaos cards. I'm talking commons. I think it's possible. Maybe it's probably going to be, Yuki asked, like, it's probably going to be the ones that are really useful in bronze and who are really useful in silver, because those are the ones that are going to have the most appeal. And not just those, but the ones that actually can be awesome at diamond or champion or gold. Those are the absolute best cards in the game. I think maybe Chaos Knight might be one that I would be watching for that. At the lowest levels, it's a pretty decent card with a reasonable amount of hit points. The shield is nice. It's got a relatively low mana cost. And then that's in silver, right? Level 5 is applicable for common. That's got Giant Killer, and Giant Killer is so beefy, and you're doing 3 damage times 2 for Diamond Killer or Giant Killer. And then it's excellent up in the highest levels with the Inspire. I love this card a lot. So that would be one I'd be watching. And it's only 5 cents right now. Antoid Platoon is a card I think is exceptional. And again, 6 cents is not much at all. Chaos Agent, definitely. Psychic Goblin is probably one I would watch because of the fact that it's got Tank Kill at the lowest levels and it's got the 2 magic with Obsidian. Again, right now it's relatively cheap, as all of these cards I'm showing you are, and it might feel like that's never going to be, $20 per BCX because it's only 20 cents. Why? It feels unlikely, but I'm telling you, it's happened before and it can happen again. It depends on if the game continues to grow as we would hope it would, if the player base keeps growing, if the game keeps developing in a positive way. It depends how the meta evolves. Those are a lot of variables that are hard to pin down, but because of these cards having that deflationary nature, I think it's a gamble that's pretty low stakes. You can accumulate these, 10 cents at a time using DEC that you're earning from playing the game, and then make an educated guess, like choose of these cards, like which ones really seem particularly strong. And I showed a couple from the common. I feel super positive that Soulstrangler will be a high cost card later on. It's so powerful at the highest levels with the poison and the 4 archery. It even has 4 archery at, looks like gold level. It has 3 archery at silver. That's really, really good. Sure, it's got low hit points, but it's a low mana monster. From the rare, I really like Demon Shark. To me is a strong carry tank at every level. It's got a good amount of hit points. The armor is amazing. It's got great speed with trample. I like it at bronze. I like it at silver. I like it at gold. I like it at diamond. The slip spawn is great. Another card I think is nonsense. This card's 30 cents each. I know you only really need, you could probably get away with 1 if you're playing at low levels, which is fine. But if you get up to this force field in silver, you're going to be very, very glad you did. And so it's got that it has that progression of abilities that is attractive from every level: silver, gold, bronze, or bronze, silver, gold, diamond, champ. Great card. He asked me to give 5 examples of cards that I would think would be very, very strong. I don't know that I could pin it down to 5, Yuki, but I'm gonna say there's no way Grund stays $4. I think this is a card that's going to be $40 to maybe even $80 one day. It's a carry tank. It's super powerful. It's so obviously powerful. It doesn't even need a new ability or a new synergy. I think a card, I think looking at your legendaries, the cheapest row of legendaries is always the starting point. I don't love recharge, but what if recharge was tweaked? I would love to have I think it's really silly not to have a few copies of the cheapest legendaries. That's like a bit of investment advice. It's like, just holding on to something that's relatively ignored at this moment is probably a wise move, because it means it's not overvalued. Whereas if you're buying some of these legendaries over here, they're maybe going to go up in price also, but I would argue they are relatively reasonably priced considering the market at this moment. Not to say I think Grum's amazing. I think he'll go up. Blight, I don't know if Dr. Blight's going to go up a lot in the short term. Even across a year, I suspect this price will stay relatively stable. So if I had to give 5 cards, I would say I would look at I don't really like any of these. Maybe this, okay, Desert Dragon. Desert Dragon's my one legendary out of the Chaos Legion that I would recommend. Out of the epics, I feel Grund. Out of the rares, I think is this one neutral? Life, okay. Veneri Spellsmith, because it's got this spell is so important during the enrage battles. Amplify is so important in the new meta, and it's got a good amount of magic, plus it's neutral. So that's number 3, I think. And then maybe 4 is Soulstrangler, and one more from the common side, Chaos Knight. Those are my 5. Those would be the 5 cards I would recommend if I was just looking at buying a few extra copies of a card to try as an investment. But I would that's just from Chaos Legion, and I would strongly recommend you look at rewards, and then it's like all of the mercenary, it's all of the cheap reward cards, the 21 that we know are in print. Those are going to be out of print in a few months, and when they are, their prices go up. So that's the answer to Yuki's question. And I'm going to clip this later. So guys, thank you so much for your time and attention. Have an amazing day. God bless.